Hello and welcome to the Loop Show, November 2010, and if you're wondering why I've scrubbed up a bit, well, it's because it's a business aviation special. Now we've got a fantastic flight test later on for you. Nick Hurd is flying the Dassault 2000 LX, and of course where better to start a special on business aviation than here, NBAA 2010, the world's biggest business aviation exposition, and it's here in Atlanta in Georgia, so I get some air miles this month. Anyway, let's get cracking with some news. Now, if the party's in your town, you want to be the best dressed and the most impressive. So Gulfstream, of course, who are based only a couple of hours away in Savannah, Georgia, have brought the biggest display you can imagine to NBAA 2010. Now, the big display in the static side is this behind me. It's the G250. This is the first flying example. It's flown in from Israel just for this show, and they're partnering with an Israeli company to build it. Now, the 250 is going into a seriously tough part of the market. It's in the mid $20 million market. It's up to 10 people, and there are a lot of competitors there already. Now, of course, you might think this is the big announcement for Gulfstream from the show, but it ain't. There's a real battle brewing for the title of who's the fastest in private aviation. And Gulfstream, of course, have got the G650. Now, this is a hugely expensive $65 million aircraft. However, the big number that people are talking about, it's not its price tag, it's its top speed, 0.925 Mach. Now, that is 0.005 quicker than the Citation X, which for a very long time has been the fastest private civilian aircraft you can buy. Now, the G650 really did have a high bar to aim for. I'm in a Citation X right now, and you can see why people love it. There's quite a lot of legroom in it. Maybe a little bit more would be nice, and very impressive Honeywell flight deck system on it though. Maybe a newer one would be a little bit flashier and more spangly, and maybe the colours could be a bit flashier inside too to really take back that crown. I wonder what Cessna will do. And this is what a 21st century makeover looks like. First thing you can't help but notice is the extra room. There's 15 inches more fuselage length, and all of it is found here in the cabin department. There's only like 8 inches extra legroom between the pairs of seats. More luggage space behind each seat as well, so inside it really seems much roomier. And of course you've got this touchscreen entertainment system which can pretty much control everything, even the colour of the lighting in the floor. This is like a Berlin nightclub, but a really good one. And up front, it's the first aircraft in the world that will have the new Garmin G5000. This is their entry into commercial airline territory kit. This is a real way to bounce back and steal back some thunder. Of course, it's not just about the inside. As impressive as it is, the numbers that people are really going to be talking about in this are probably its top speed. Now, Jack Pelton, the boss of Cessna, has always said, we're going to make the fastest civilian aircraft in the world, and we can fairly expect that this will probably retake the record in pretty short order with maybe 0.93 Mach. So when it comes to style and trying to steal the show, this gets 10 out of 10. Now, when it comes to big, impressive aircraft, Bombardier have the market pretty much sewn up, we seem to think. Global 5000 and the Global XRS are their range toppers at the minute. Best part of $55 million for one of these, 19 passengers, and a range of over 6,000 nautical miles. How could you ever need more, you might ask? Well, Bombardier have chosen not one, but two new aircraft, and here they are in model size, but to scale. The 8000, now you might think this is the one that they're going to go enthusiastic for. It's got the best part of 8,000 miles nautical range. That'll take you from LA to Sydney in one go. However, the one that I think they're most excited about is this. It's the Global 7000. Now, the range is pretty much the same. It's 7,300 nautical miles. Again, truly spectacular. But the real ace up this one's sleeve is it's enormous. It's 25% longer inside and more spacious than the current XRS. It really is a big step upwards in what you can get in business aviation. How much are these? $65 million. Yeah, slightly out of my range. Let's go find something I can afford. Now, you keen viewers will remember, of course, 2 years ago, it's the first real chance to see the first Piperjet, Piper's first foray into jet manufacture. Now, 2 years later, they've come up with a brand new version of that prototype. It's longer, it's bigger, it's wider, and it's got business aviation written all over it. It's called the Piperjet Altair. Now, compared to prototype number one, there's a huge change up front. For a start, we get a return of the traditional Piper yokes. Piperjet number one had a side stick, which maybe not so many people like. If you want a real look at where they plan on this being paid for, it's business aviation, and the G3000 Garmin panel is a real testament to that, because this is so much more than the average G1000 guy needs, I think. Now the buzzword for this, as far as Piper are concerned, is scalability, and what they mean by that is this fuselage could become longer in the future. It might become a 6-seater, an 8-seater, or something like that. And also, if you look at the tail, it's quite big and it's taller, and for me, that could go to 2 engines sitting either side of the rear of the fuselage as opposed to one above it. So really the exciting news is I think this is the start of a new family of Piperjets. Now, Bombardier, Cessna and Gulfstream all making major announcements here at the show. You might ask yourself, what has Europe's big player in business aviation, Dassault, got to show? Did they bring something? Mais oui, absolument. They brought, of course, the 900LX certified earlier this year, and it's the latest aircraft in the Dassault range to get the very cute and curved, distinctive elliptical winglets. What does that do? Well, who better to ask than Philippe Delhomme, Chief Test Pilot of Dassault. So Philippe, we're here next to the first green example of the new 900LX. Big moment for you, was certified earlier this year.
Correct.
The primary difference I can see are the winglets. Is that really the only change?
Is it really the only change? In fact, we just wanted to enhance the range of the Falcon 900EX by adding this very beautiful winglets. It improved the range by 5%. So it gives to the plane a range now of 4,750 nautical miles at the long range cruise.
Do they make any difference in how you feel in terms of handling?
These winglets give a slight nose down tendency. When we flew the plane, we had to change in the trim when trimming the plane, so that's the only thing.
So Philippe, with all the extra lift and assumedly some extra weight, what other modifications are there then in the wing?
The difference so is externally is the winglets, but of course there is more lift coming from the winglets. So to have the same bending, we had spars inside in order to reinforce the wings, and in order that the deformation under the lift, when you pull G's for example, will remain the same with the winglets as it was before without the winglets on the EX.
Philippe, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Now, sticking with Dassault, regular viewers will know on the Loop Show that it's usually about now that we bring you a flight test. So, the 2000LX also has those cute, sexy winglets as well, and I really would like to get in one of these and test it. How would that be possible? I suspect we'd probably have to go to France and find somebody that's a little bit better qualified than me to test it. That sounds like witchcraft. Now, Dassault are of course quick to remind you that the teams who design and test their business jets are the same who create their cutting-edge fighter jets, such as the Rafale. So they know a thing or two about speed and efficiency. Now, this collected learning means things like pressure-reducing engine mounts, swept wings for reduced drag, a variable shape airfoil to help low-speed handling, and of course you get those signature winglets too. And despite a top speed of Mach 0.84, it's also very, very efficient, probably the best in class. It's got 2 Pratt & Whitney 308C turbofans, good power there, but it's efficiency that gives this thing its real selling point, low fuel burn. So that's the philosophy. What does it mean from the inside? Well, let's ask our very own Stig, Nick Hurd.
Well, like the Falcon 7X, it's an astounding aeroplane. It really is very exciting to fly, extremely powerful, certainly at the perhaps the low weights we've been operating today. Challenging in terms of knowledge of the navigation kit which is fitted, but that will come quite quickly with familiarity. It's a very intuitive system in the flight deck, so once you've got the hang of that, then you can start to perhaps keep ahead of the aeroplane. For the weight we're at, is a relatively lightweight. We're sort of getting rotate speeds of perhaps around about 125 knots. The acceleration of the aircraft certainly once the power bites, which takes a few seconds as the engines spool up, but that's probably the most astounding acceleration I think I've seen in any aircraft actually. It really goes very, very quickly indeed, such that we're passing 80 knots very quickly, and we're passing V1 and rotating all very, very quick. So the first time any pilot tries that, I think will be quite something. And then once airborne, you can ease the control column back, we can get sort of perhaps 15-20 degrees nose up, and still be achieving perhaps 5,000-6,000 feet rate of climb initially, which is truly astounding performance. Carries its own problems. If you're not sort of ready for that, then clearly there's all sorts of scope for level busts and things like that if you're not very careful. Truly exciting nonetheless, as long as you're up with it.
Auto throttle. 20. 5. Auto throttle. Auto throttle.
Any business jet flying is challenging in that they have to be very, very flexible. Clearly you've got to be able to go from place to place at very short notice. Now, the flight deck is built for that, so people can be very flexible, and with a bit of training you quickly, I'm sure, get the hang of that very well. So a very pleasant flight deck to work in. Perhaps a little bit tighter, I perhaps feel, in getting into the cockpit, but then again, I'm 6'4" and no cockpit ever fitted me.
They say that this is derived from the same team that produces fighter jets in terms of design and manufacture. How does it feel for you?
Responsive to the control, so in that respect it feels good. And yes, the manoeuvres we were doing felt quite comfortable for an aeroplane of this size. And the symbology on the flight deck for flying the aircraft, in particular using the flight path vector for flight, which is something which Dassault push more than other business jet manufacturers. Using flight path vector is particularly intuitive for ex-fighter pilots. It's the way we fly, and it's a natural way to fly once you get used to it. The aircraft, as I say, handles extremely well, and I would have to add that yes, it is a fighter dressed up as a business jet.
Now, NBAA is not just about the big manufacturers and the big jets. There's lots going on in the light and small jet category too. So let's bring you some updates. Firstly, the Honda jet, you can see it here behind me. People have been saying for the last couple of years now, when we're going to see it, it has slid. Honda have blamed supply issues from subcontractors, but basically late 2012 is the number that they're now putting on it. It's a $4.5 million aircraft. 420 knots, 41,000 feet. It's got great numbers and a real sense and sexiness about it. People just can't wait to see it, and I'm one of them as well. Now, moving on from them, there are other manufacturers. Sikorsky, helicopter manufacturer, have just announced something. They're getting tied up with Eclipse. Now, you'll know them. They went bust a couple of years ago. They're 250 or so flying examples of their EA500 jets. So there's a lot of them out there, and they need parts and supply. That's where Sikorsky's coming in. They're buying an interest in the revived Eclipse company, which was started quite recently by some disgruntled owners that wanted to make sure that they could keep their aircraft flying. It's really interesting news. Piaggio, of course, you'll know them for their sexy twin turboprop Avanti 2. They have confirmed to us that yes, they are working on a jet project. Well, we kind of knew that, but they always said, hey, maybe not. They're going to call it the P1XX. That's still a few years away, but don't forget they have funding from Bombardier and Tata, two of the biggest organisations in the world with just sheer pots of money. And here we are with TBM. They also have confirmed that they are looking at a jet design. You'll remember Grob and the SPN, composite manufacturer that went bust a few years back. The SPN project was waiting in the wings, and really it's done nothing since then. Well, Cicata have confirmed that they're going to look at it and study it, perhaps to learn something from it. They're not necessarily going to buy the design, but it definitely means that they're pacing ahead to stand a jet alongside the TBM 850. Now, there's a classic phrase in aviation, much beloved by certain people in our office, and it is, of course, I feel the need for speed. Now, of course, while Gulfstream and Cessna are scrapping it out over 0.925 or 0.93 perhaps in terms of the top speed, Mach number that is, one company has its goal set a whole lot higher, Mach 1.6. This is, of course, Ariane, the company that managed to bring the first supersonic business jet. Now, there's a whole lot of science and technology that goes into making that work at a cost that's even less than a comparable subsonic business jet. It's all too much for my brain, but I know a man who knows a lot more than me, Dr. Richard Tracy. So firstly, Doctor, could you tell us how the project is going at this moment in time, the milestones and the progress?
We're quite pleased it's going forward with the technical development as well as the business and commercial development. We've actually stopped actively pursuing the letters of intent because we think we've made the point that there's a strong, vibrant market out there.
What dynamic challenges is this presenting in terms of engineering?
This unique wing that we have has two main purposes. One is to reduce drag at supersonic speeds so we can make a smaller airplane more fuel efficient at Mach 1.5, 1.6, but it also has this sweet spot just below the speed of sound so we can fly subsonically where necessary. Without losing range and efficiency. We've actually been working with NASA for over a decade, doing flight tests in collaboration with them. The early tests were to establish that laminar flow was basically feasible, using their F-15B test aircraft and a small replica of our wing under the aircraft with a system that could look at laminar flow via what is called infrared thermography. So we're now doing another series of tests with them with an improved pylon and improved flow field calibration, which we've finished doing. We're now starting a second phase, which is design a test article that will replicate the pressures over the wing and look at the effect of imperfections in the wing surface, either because of FOD, bugs, and so forth, or manufacturing problems.
Now, the engines on the Aeron are not unbelievably powerful. They're actually quite common to the class, and the real secret lies in its aerodynamics and cutting loss of speed through drag.
The drag where we have laminar flow is about 10% of what the normal drag of a turbulent gondola. So it enables us to downsize the whole airplane and use, as you say, an existing engine.
Now, you use the phenomena of the speed of sound in a gas changing with temperature to mitigate that you can fly over the speed of sound without the people on the ground hearing a sonic boom. Could you explain that to me in a way that I can get my head around?
I'll try. The temperature of the air changes with altitude, and the speed of sound is proportional to the square root of the temperature, if anyone cares. But the point is that the speed of sound is lower at altitude than it is at the surface. By flying at about Mach 1.1 or 1.2, you're flying just about the speed of sound relative to the speed of air at the ground. So if you fly slightly lower than that, the sonic boom that will be created at the cruise will dissipate before it reaches the ground. So this is the key to flying over populated areas where there are restrictions against unacceptable noise. For example, the ICAO rules prohibit flight that would cause an unacceptable disturbance on the ground. Well, we consider any sonic boom as likely to be considered unacceptable. So we would propose to fly at a speed, a cutoff speed, where there is no boom on the ground.
Well, listen, aviation is full of mountains that people like to climb and see surpassed, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you. This is a great climb for us. I'll tell you.
So that's the end of this Loop Show special on business aviation. Of course, if you want to know more, get P1 magazine. It's especially for jet pilots and operators all around the world. As for me, I've got to find a way to get home. I hope that 2000 LX is around. See you back in the studio in a month.